duty, he received 3 Purple Hearts and a Silver Star for valor. 16 days after Tom enlisted in the Army, he left for Fort Benning, Georgia. And inside, Tom was truly scared. But he wanted to find out what was going on in Vietnam. He was directly affected by the war because he lost his cousin, who was serving there at the time. Now think about this, students. There was no social media. There was no email. There was no texting. There was no Facebook. There was no way to know what was going on in Vietnam, except for short snippets that were aired on the nightly news. Tom had to go there, find out what was happening, and serve his country. Tom became a patriot who stuck together with his buddies, and like a brotherhood, they did their best to keep each other alive. He was a freedom fighter because he believed that all people should experience the same freedom that you and I are experiencing today. More importantly, though, this is a story about a man who, like other men and women that are serving today, choose to fight for freedom. He's a man who still experiences the tragedies of war in his life, but he's also a man who's sharing those experiences and how they shaped his life. This is really what a hero is. He's a veteran, one that gave his life for freedom. And today we celebrate him as he shares our story. It is truly my honor to introduce to you Tom Farber.
The Vietnam War was the longest war the United States took part in. It began in 1957 and ended in 1975. Vietnam, a small country in Southeast Asia, was divided at the time into the Communist Democratic Republic of Vietnam, commonly known as North Vietnam, and the non-Communist Republic of Vietnam, called South Vietnam. North and Communist-trained South Vietnamese rebels sought to overthrow the government of South Vietnam and eventually reunite the country. The United States and South Vietnamese Army tried to stop them, but we failed. Why did I enlist? On February 16, 1969, my very close cousin, Corporal William Farber, United States Marine Corps, was killed in action in Quang Nam province of South Vietnam. Prior to this, I thought about military service. The draft was hanging high over our head. And on my mind, at home, life was terrible. Now with my cousin's death, I had a reason to join the Army. In July 1969, I joined the Army. I told everybody I wanted to go to Vietnam and find out really what it was like and what it was that my cousin was fighting for and died for. Deep down inside, I was scared to death. Suddenly reality set in and I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I signed up for everything I could to delay the inevitable. Airborne training, Ranger School, Artillery Forward Observer. Now all of a sudden I'm ordered to Vietnam. I reluctantly went, not knowing what to expect, knowing only the horror stories I had heard from the vets returning from Vietnam. I arrived in Vietnam in January 1970. The war was going on hot and heavy. When I got off the plane in Cam Ranh Bay, South Vietnam, which is the port of entry for most military members coming to Vietnam, it was hot, humid, almost unbearable. For the next 3 weeks, we spent being briefed on what to expect in Vietnam, given shots, and allocated time to adjust to the weather conditions. I was assigned as an artillery forward observer, the eyes and ears of the artillery, to the 23rd Army 75th Airborne Rangers, 101st Airborne Division. The forward observer goes forward area, searches out the enemy, and calls in air and artillery support to kill the enemy. A short time later, I was reassigned to the Military Assistance Command MACV in Saigon. The 101st Airborne Division was going home, but they decided to keep me there. The war was ending soon. We have heard this more than once, the rumors ran wild. I stayed and was assigned as a support personnel to the 23rd Army, responsible for their air and artillery support. Along with myself and 15 other Americans and Marines who were assigned administering special support duties as advisors. While on patrol, we came under mortar and rocket fire. I received light wounds to the hand and arm. I earned my first Purple Heart. No big deal, just a couple scratches. On another occasion, a small force of Viet Cong and NBA regulars ambushed us. Being in the rear, I heard over the radio the forward platoon was pinned down by machine gun fire. I could tell from the sound of the firing the machine gun was approximately 75 yards from my flank. I called on the radio to inform them that what I was going to do. I started heading in that direction, and after calling 25 yards or so, I ran into 2 Viet Cong soldiers. One bayoneted me in the side, and the other came towards me with his AK-47. He didn't fire, I think, to this day because his comrade might be shot in the process. While fighting with me, second, maybe he didn't want to give away their position. In the course of the fight, both enemy soldiers died in hand-to-hand combat. I finished crawling into the machine gun nest, which I dispatched for the hand grenade. I received my second Purple Heart. On another occasion, while driving the convoy, we came under attack, and this time I'm not sure with what, because the truck in front of us was blown up and parts of the truck came through the windshield and hit me in the head and chest. I just got my ticket home the hard way. I was awarded another Purple Heart. Before Vietnam, I did not consider myself the most religious person in the world, but found him quickly while I was there in the midst of war. Most of the people talk about God and how they believe He would protect them. There was only one way, and that was Jesus Christ. So now I'm not only learning to love my country even more, I learned to love God and everything He stood for. I felt in a strange way as if He was there to protect me. I learned there was nothing wrong with confiding Him and asking for forgiveness. If He could get me out of there, just get me out of there in one piece. I would never forget it. I prayed to God every day, and He always came through for me. I wish I could do more to repay Him today. Why did I survive when so many of my friends died? I will carry this burden for the rest of my life, but I realize I am here for a reason, and each new day is filled with the opportunity for others and myself. Patriot. Students, I bet you've heard the word patriot. I did not even know what a patriot truly was before I went to Vietnam. Boy, did I learn fast. If you're not a patriot, we're not going to be around long. Not only do you have to believe in what you're doing, but you also have to look out for your fellow soldiers. There was a bond there that can only be described by a veteran of a war. You watch out for them, they are obligated to do the same for you. If they were not a team player, they were gotten rid of quickly and quietly. The brotherhood that is formed is forever. Even if you never see them again, you will never forget them. The war was unpopular. People called us horrible names. Civilians spit on us in the airports and bus stations. We did not understand why, and they did not understand why we were fighting the war in Vietnam. I have grown to accept this. My mission is to inform anyone who wants to listen and learn. There is power in information. Ask questions if you don't understand it. Became a freedom fighter. When we saw death and destruction the war brings, it has an everlasting effect on you. You become a freedom fighter. You do not want the people of South Vietnamese treated the way they were. You want them to be free and able to live normal lives, have the freedoms that you enjoy here. The only way you can have the freedom at times is if you have to go to war. The South Vietnamese were treated terribly and they needed our help desperately. I joined the cause and vowed to do whatever I could to ensure their freedom. America pulled out of South Vietnam in 1975 in order to let the South Vietnamese fight the war on their own. Unfortunately, the North Vietnamese Army invaded South Vietnam, took over the capital of Saigon, and renamed the city Ho Chi Minh. 58,267 American men and women died in the Vietnam War. 300,000 were wounded. 224,000 South Vietnamese soldiers and patriots died. 1 million South Vietnamese soldiers and patriots were wounded. 1 million North Vietnamese and Viet Cong died, with 600,000 of them as civilians. Every name of a personnel who gave his life or were wounded in battle. Freedom isn't free, it comes at a high price. The aftermath. I am a survivor. It has not come easy, but I have survived and will continue to survive. Service to our country has come at a price. It's costing me in ways. The depression, the anxiety, alcohol, and drug abuse. My life was a wreck. With the help of God, friends, the Veterans Administration, my comrades at the VFW Post 9496, mostly Frank Nerad, who forced me to join the VFW after 22 years of prodding. But most of all, my wife and 2 children, who stood by my side through the roughest of times. Without them, I would not be standing here today. To all of them, I will forever be grateful. Today, I'm not afraid. Today, I'm not afraid of my demons or the horrors of war, and I attack them head on every day. Just like we did the enemy in Vietnam, and you take your chances that everything is going to be all right in the end. I am not afraid to wake up tomorrow. I am a survivor. Thank you.